Today we are going to demonstrate a technique of obturation of the root canal with gutta percha, which is known as lateral condensation. This is basically a form of cold compaction of gutta percha within the root canal system. Shown here are two plastic blocks with oval canals. The block at the top of the screen has not been instrumented, while the one at the bottom of the screen has been shaped previously to receive a gutta percha filling. The instrument which we use to obturate the canal and compact the gutta percha filling in lateral condensation is known as a spreader. Shown here are two spreaders. One of them on the left is slightly bent and should be straightened if possible, or discarded. These should never be heated. The spreader on the right is the D11T spreader, which is a very popular type of spreader for this technique. In teeth with larger canals, you might wish to use a thicker spreader, and in teeth with smaller canals, a thinner one. The shape of the canal dictates the selection of the spreader. Our goal is to be able for the spreader tip to reach within 1 to 2 millimeters of the apex. Students doing this technique for the first time should remember that the spreader is a single-ended instrument, while the endodontic explorer is a double-ended instrument. They are not meant to be interchangeable. Prior to obturating the canal, I always like to recapitulate with the master apical file, or the last size file used at working length, so that any dentinal debris can be removed from the apex. Remember to always keep the canal flooded with sodium hypochlorite when using files in the canal and irrigate frequently. This will greatly lessen the amount of debris that can be packed in the apical portion of the canal. The next step is to thoroughly dry the canal with paper points. This is important so that the root canal sealer will not set prematurely, as some sealers do not tolerate moisture well. Paper points come in different sizes. Larger canals may require a coarse size, while very small canals could require an extra fine size. This canal is obviously pretty large and may require several points to adequately dry it. Careful inspection of the paper point will inform you of whether moisture is still present in the canal, as it will buckle if touched on the tip if it is wet. Our next step is to select a master gutta percha cone based on the final apical size of the canal. The master cone should fit within a ½ millimeter of the working length and should contact the walls of the canal snugly in the apical 1 to 3 millimeters. It should resist movement beyond the apical dentinal matrix and have a slight resistance to removal called tugback. The point fit is done by trial and error. If the first point is too loose, a larger size is selected, or 1/2 to 1 millimeter increments can be trimmed from the tip with a sharp scalpel or scissors. Accessory cones in lateral condensation are chosen according to spreader size. They should mimic the size and taper of the spreader. The use of a root canal sealer during obturation of the canal is essential. It enhances the seal of the root canal filling and serves as a filler for canal irregularities between the canal walls and the gutta percha cones. It serves as a lubricant also. This sealer, which we are using, is zinc oxide eugenol cement called Roth 811. It is often mixed too thinly. It should be thick enough to string up about 1.5 inches above the slab. This appears to be about right. And we drag the sealer through the gutta percha through the sealer, and then we're going to insert it in the canal, and I like to give it a little pump. Try to get a little sealer down around the apical portion of the point. We're going to take our D11T spreader and go down beside the point with a little pressure, and then we rotate it. Remove the spreader,
add an accessory cone. I try to go back in the same location each time and pack the gutta percha one way. And gently rotate it, trying not to spear the point. We'll add another accessory. Keep backing our way up the canal in the same way. Packing against the same wall. Gradually you'll work your way up. Now this happens to be a very big canal, so we're going to wind up using a lot of accessory points. And I do like to coat each one. I just feel like it gives you a little bit more sealer in there and a little bit more gluing action between the points. And we're trying to compact these points into kind of an amorphous mass within the canal. Gentle pressure apically. I think a couple more will do it. Roth 811, the cement that we're using, is a fairly slow setting cement. I have used Tubeless in my practice, which is a much faster setting cement or root canal sealer. Even on humid days, we might not be able to use it in the office. We'd have to use Roth or a similar cement. I think one more will do it here. Okay, I think that's good. And then there's a fair amount of pressure, but you never want the spreader to bind in the canal, because then you can crack the root if you exert too much force and you're locking that spreader into the root. Take a gauze here and wipe this cement off. See it better. Into the root here, I think we've got a pretty good seal. And we try to, this is like a cold compaction of gutta percha against each other. And we're using the apical stop that we made, which theoretically in the root would be right at this level. There would be like a little stop and a dent from where our working length was. And that's like a matrix. And you're packing this gutta percha against the matrix. Blow out the end of the root if your working length is incorrect and you're too long, and this wants to slide on out. So it's very important to have good length control whenever you're doing endodontics. Now I'm going to take a flame here and we'll sear the gutta percha off. heating this Glick instrument until it's pretty hot. The milk is quite soft. There is an instrument called a touch and heat that you can do this, and works very well. And get it down clinically to about the level of the orifice of the canal. Then you take the other end of the Glick instrument, which in this case has been heated, and we will plug it in the canal, and we'll try to pack it just a little more vertical pressure. And that's lateral condensation. At this point, you could use a solvent to clean this cement out, and I do that sometimes, particularly in anterior teeth, although these cements are non-staining. The old root canal sealer cements had silver in them, and they would stain the tooth gray. You just have to be careful to clean those out. They're excellent cements. Basically, this is the completed lateral condensation. It's a very good technique for the majority of cases where you have a tapering cylinder or funnel-shaped preparation to fill. At this point, if you were going to make a post face, you could remove the gutta percha with a rotary instrument or a warm instrument and go on to the post face. Thank you very much.